we had a large angel group. One feeling was great. There is this one angel who is really like kind of lifting the weight of all of us and helping out this team. The others were, oh wow, if this is how involved angel investors have to get, then let me figure out how I can spend more time. So I think effectively, one, people will agree, and two, I think the impact was.
If the second thing happened, then I'm very happy because I think the angel investor term has become a misnomer in the last 2-3 years. You have like, I don't know, 100,000 angel investors now in the country. And I think a lot of folks don't really maybe understand what it means to be worthy of that title in that sense. I mean, yeah, you can put a small check, but what is the real objective behind putting that check has to be very, very clear. So,
what is it for you? I know you're a prolific investor purely from number of founders you back as well as, and it has amazed me how deep you go in with each founder. And we'll talk about your journey with Bombay Shaving Company. But tell me about what does it mean to you?
So I think it's very. First of all, it's not something that. I mean, yes, giving back is a little bit of part of it, but I don't think you were my first angel investment, right? I don't think I had anything to give back. I don't think I can call myself a success as well, right? So for me, it's a little bit part of it, but honestly, it's learning, right? One of the things that I think I have struggled with in life is getting a proper path to what is the right answer for anything, right? And in the end, I realized that if I have to chart my own way, the hardest thing to do or the most difficult thing to do is do all the mistakes yourself and learn from them, which is, a good path, but it's a little arduous path in the end. So one of the ways that I realized I could accentuate my own learning was just invest and work with founders. So one of the things that I do while I work with quite a few companies, and now it's not with all companies. I mean, time is the biggest enemy that all of us have, right? So I have slowed down significantly. And usually it's, you're spending time with, let's say, 3 to 4 founders at any point of time. It's continuous learning for one as well. So when I problem solve with you, your team, or when I used to, and now I problem solve with someone else, I think your brain does start connecting the dots somewhere. It's not in a textbook manner that if you learn X chapter, then you can learn Y. But somewhere the dots are continuously connecting. And I found that you become a better decision maker as you learn a lot in these problem solving sessions. So it may be a little harsh to hear, but in the end, there is a selfish motive of self-learning in each of these things, right? Because a lot of people have asked me that when they said, hey, it must be very enriching from a wealth creation point of view. I think it's the worst asset class if you can think about it, right?
Yeah.
Like I think you mentioned this in one of your previous episodes where you take the highest amount of risk. Forget the terms, etc. I don't think anybody really understands, and having been an investor myself, you make your best financial returns when you find a winner and you go all in on it, right? So if you look at venture capital as an asset class, after the first check where someone takes 10-15% on your company or any company for that matter, once you realize that this company is going to make it big, you double down, right? You put more money and you put more money, right? So a seed investor who's put 2 million over a course of series ABC will plow in 18 more million into that company because you want that 20 million to become like 200, 400 million or something like that. Angels can't do that, right? Yeah. So you put your 5 lakh check and suddenly the next round is happening. And some of your angels can. Unfortunately, I could never do that. I remember there was like pro rata from Angels, Series A, then Series B, again pro rata. I'm like, कौन है भाई ये लोग मतलब pro rata कर रहे हैं Series A, Series B में. But yeah, I think doubling down on winners is how you actually make it a viable asset class. I'm not even saying it's the best asset class. You reach viability with that.
Correct.
So as an angel investor, you need to have like a 50x or a 100x in 1 out of 20 investments to generate like a 25% plus IRR. Super hard to do, right? And therefore, when I explain this, everybody's like, yeah, then tu fir kyun karta hai? Tu ya to jhoot bol raha hai, Right? Yeah, so you have figured something out that nobody else has. And my answer is, if you look, I don't look at it as I mean, yes, it is a financial investment, but if it helps me make better decisions, then it becomes a good financial investment. Because if I make better decisions, I will figure out how to, recoup some of the losses that are made, or okay, it may not give me 25% IRR, it gives me 10% IRR, right? Which is itself not bad, but more critical, the learning that you get is super, super valuable,
Yeah.
right? And I don't know if I can really quantify it. And as long as I'm happy that I'm getting the learning, it's good fun, right? And I think a lot of people who know me personally know that one of my biggest weaknesses is problem solving. Not in the sense that I can't solve problems. It's like you throw a problem and then मैं घुस जाऊंगा कि चलो यार बैठते हैं solve करते हैं करके, right? So I think the best founders in that sense have really leveraged leveraged my time in that sense. And I think सबसे ज़्यादा खून तो तूने ही चूसा है क्या हो हर हफ्ते let's talk every week. Luckily I had time back then to do even weekly reviews and sort of work with the team, but I think very enriching for me as well, right? Like while I had done marketing on food delivery, I really didn't know how marketing in CPG works. So, those weekly calls actually helped me understand how do people think of buying CPG products. What is a good channel to actually get good, if you're thinking of launching a CPG business, what's a good go-to-market strategy? A lot of these learnings just come to you when you're continuously problem solving. So for me, I think that's how it should be for most angel investors. Unless you've reached a stage where you're just giving back, and then it's more about life learnings and philosophies and stuff. Correct. I think I'm at least 10, 15 years away from that.
I think even 15 years down the line, you'll still be the same.
In terms of?
In terms of getting involved with the business and, kind of problem solving. I don't think that you are wired to not engage.
I agree. Engagement will be high, but on what kind of problems, that remains to be seen.
Correct.
Right? So for me, it has to continuously challenge me as well, right? कि यार ये challenging problem है. तो फिर मजा आता है फिर, right? Like today when I spend time with a enterprise SaaS business, which is a US go-to-market strategy, I don't have anything to add value to them except for, how do you think of hiring? How do you think of building the right culture? Because as an entrepreneur myself, I am grappling with some of these situations, right? And I may not have the right answer, but at least I can tell them how I have tried to solve it and what has worked and what has not worked. At least that is 5 less mistakes that they should ideally make.
Yeah.
And that I think is super valuable for most entrepreneurs, right?
Yeah.
And as I said, in the end, there's be a bunch of advice. Like I keep getting so much advice. The hardest part today actually for entrepreneurs is what advice to take and what to ignore.
Yeah.
That's the other piece where I think I can add a lot of value. Like half the time when I tell something which is contrary to what someone else has told him, I'm like, yeah, great point. But now that you've heard both sides, you take a call. But at least you've heard both sides now, right? So I agree with you. I think it's a lot of fun, and yeah, deeply my mind enjoys solving complex problems. So as long as it gets challenged, it's always going to be fun.
I'll tell you. Let me kind of break down what I found most valuable, and we have discussed this multiple times, right? I think there are two things that differentiate you as an angel investor from others, which now I try to do, given that I am now kind of putting checks in founders who I like over the last 2 years. I think one was, of course, the engagement part. And the engagement part was not just about being available or being involved from problem solving standpoint. I think you attached yourself to the outcomes very deeply. So I remember we used to do our performance marketing calls every 4 p.m. or 6 p.m. on a Thursday, week on week for maybe a year and a half, right? When the team was getting set, Shanky, Ronak, all of them, all of our earlier team used to join. And the one thing that you did beautifully on those calls was you always asked the right questions, which is an amazing skill. People in angel investing situations love giving advice, right? I don't think you gave us much advice. I think you asked us a lot of pertinent questions at that time, which were very relevant for Facebook marketing, conversion rate, what are the metrics to look at, how do we think about the 5 content pieces for a particular launch, etc. Right? So you asked the right questions, got the team to think. Again, asked the right questions, got the team to think. And that DNA has kind of percolated into the company now that I think about it. Now, a lot of our reviews, the way I take reviews, the way Shanky takes reviews, is about asking the important questions. This is theoretically true, by the way. Everyone will know it. Right questions are everyone has read this in their MBAs and all, right? The right questions are very valuable. But seeing it in action with a large team consistently, with an attachment to outcome. कि यार पिछले बार तुमने ये बोला था, क्यों नहीं हुआ? या फिर ये हुआ बोला था, अपन ने किया लेकिन जो expect कर रहे थे वो नहीं हुआ. Where was our hypothesis wrong? And you got the team to think. So I think that was one thing which I found tremendously helpful. The second thing, Revan, that I think I try to emulate or try to do like you is your self-orientation in the situation is almost zero. So I remember, for example, personally calling you up for hiring decisions, people underperforming in the company. In fact, most of the time my conversations with you were when I was getting fucked. Right? कि ये हो रहा है, या फिर इन्वेस्टर ने मना कर दिया, या फिर राउंड इंटरनली रेज होने वाला है, ये हो गया. And I remember calling you at probably the pits of my entrepreneurial journey. You were the first call I had made. I still distinctly remember I was on that 11th floor of a building and you were not in Bombay at that. I think you were in Bangalore at that time. And I told you, yaar, boss, the term sheet has been taken away. Now I don't know what to do. And the first thing you said is, don't worry. ठीक हो जाएगा. We'll figure it out. अभी सो जा. कोई दोस्त है बॉम्बे में? Can you go and meet someone? Do you want to get a drink? And I remember that was what you did so well. And I also remember you doing it for other founders when you used to talk to me. कि यार इस founder में मैंने invest किया है, वो पता नहीं क्या कर रहा है उसका, वो investor उसको ये कर रहा है, वो कर रहा है. And I remember you getting very emotionally attached to, and I can imagine like 10 other founders calling you up for this. So again, like I said, I think it's a very uniquely different trait that you have. And I hope how much ever Mosaic takes time away from you, that this doesn't go away.
I mean, first of all, thank you for putting it in that sense. But I think it's an interesting thing that you mentioned. When I was a senior operator, right, like with Rebel, and I started doing angel investments, people said, hey, founders can get a lot of value from you, so you could be a good investor. And then I serendipitously ended up in investing. When I was an investor and I used to talk to other investors, I don't know how I spoke, but most of the investors used to tell me that, hey, you should be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Now, when I'm an entrepreneur, a lot of investors and other operators are like, you should be an investor. I'm like, तुम बता दो करना क्या, मैं वो करूँगा करके, right?